Welcome everybody, I'm Mr. Steve and I made the RenderScope add-on. This has taken me about 4.5 months to put together and I have a stable version for everybody. So if you're about to pick up the add-on or you're still on the fence about it, this tutorial, even though it's a little lengthy, is going to be packed with all the nuggets you're going to need in order to have the confidence to not only know what the add-on can do, but navigate and speed up your workflows. Add-ons save time. This is always my pitch. This is just what I tell everybody. If you get an add-on, I don't care if it's pay or free, it's usually going to do something for you. Now I'm going to break this tutorial down into 3 sections. One is going to be going over the edit preferences. The next one is going to be going over the customizing of the end panel. If you don't want to show something, you don't have to show it. If you find that, say, only the auto camera markers is good for you, then the main panel will show only that. And then after that, we're going to go over special menus like the F8 menu, which is going to give you the option to do a lot of camera work and set up cameras. And then we're going to go over the next special menu, which is one of my favorites actually. And when you press a hotkey, it's going to turn the entire screen into the camera. So as you're going, the screen will actually resize, and you can see it in here. It'll automatically resize no matter what you do. So if you go to make some adjustments, it's going to go with you, which is really cool. It's a good feature, and it does change the render resolution. So you'll be able to see that actually updating right here. So as I change the viewport, you'll see that the resolution is actually changing. It's a good idea, and you'll be able to get used to it, lock the camera, turn it off, and then function and model and know with confidence that everything you're modeling is going to be in your render. So just to go over that one more time, first section, we're going to go over the edit preferences, we're going to go over the end panel, and then we'll go over special menus. It's not a lot, but there's a lot packed into it. And these are all just basic custom controls that you have over here for your camera, so you can customize it. There will be some special camera controls as well. So let's get started. So going from top to bottom, if you have a camera in scene, it is active, you can hit Alt-C and bring the camera focal length in or out. If you right click, it'll return back to its previous position. If you press Alt-C and move it in and then left click or hit escape, it will set that property distance, and you can do it that way. Now if you have a light selected active, you can hit Alt-X and you can bring the light intensity up and down. And then if you can left click to set it, and if you bring it back down and right click, it's going to reset that for you. So if you're at 229 and you bring it down to 205 and right click, it goes back to 229. If you go down, say 144 and left click or escape, it's going to set that property. Now you'll have a focus pi menu, which is Alt-L. There'll be frame unselected, a couple of different things in here, view active camera, view through object. So some very basic stuff that's just been pulled out of the properties in Blender, so you don't have to go hunt for them. Now if we continue on down, you'll have the Shift Alt D camera pi menu. So Shift Alt D, this one's going to grow a little more. You can align new camera to active, align camera to selected. And so if I grab that and align the camera to selected, it's going to actually align the camera, and you can see how that works. Very basic. And now we have the snapshot camera shortcut. This is P. You can change that if you wish. Now this is going to resize the camera, and as you can see, my render resolution, so if I was to go to 4K and leave it like that and press P, it's going to bring that view 100% into the viewport. And if I change this, it's going to change with it and auto update for you. You don't have to do anything. It's going to change all that. So if you're rendering out this some specific size, this may not be a total benefit to you, but if you want to keep everything in the viewport and you can lock the camera here and press P, turn it off, and now you're in the view of the entire camera. So if I move this down here and just put a couple corners out of the edge and go to render, you'll see we just have a couple corners out of the edge there. So it's grabbing the entire viewport. And just to view this obviously a little better, we'll put one in here. We'll disappear most of this one, and then we'll just bring this one right smack into the corners, just touching the edges of the viewport. And let's go ahead and render that, and you'll see everything is exactly the way we placed it. So that's going to be a pretty powerful way to work for you. You press P again. You can turn on depth of field, turn it off. You can unlock the camera. You do have a camera lock icon here, but if you don't happen to have the gizmo on most of the time, like I don't, then that'll be a benefit. So we'll go ahead and turn the gizmos back on. You can see the camera lock is off. Now this does have other functionalities. So if I get out of the modal and I have not got a camera selected, it's not going to work. So there's no errors. But if I do have a camera selected, I can bring that camera into view and lock that screen in. Now after that, you can just release it. You don't have to use the modal. All right, let's continue on. There are some links in here for social media. You can get in there. The Discord would be the one where more people are than anything. The TikTok is kind of good, but I don't really focus too much on the TikTok or the Instagram anymore, but you can still check out some of my work. You can also go to the YouTube, which is probably where you found me here. But if you do select this, this will take you to the Discord server where you can get help with the add-on. Now, if you go ahead and let's continue on, this is customizing the quick menu. This is the F8 menu. So if we want to customize this, we can add or we can turn on or off the display shutter settings. So now the shutter settings are going to show. I've got a motion blur control here too. If I turn this off, that's going to not be there any longer. So that will be pretty basic for that. Now, the other options you're going to have are going to be for customizing the main panel. So if I want, I can turn off everything in the main panel and there's nothing there. If I want my render presets, I can have those. And the render presets will switch the camera for you and give you different render resolutions. These are the presets that are built into Blender already. Now you do have the automatic, which is good. The horizontal and the vertical, these are standards. So if you want to do something that looks like Instagram, you can do that and then show it. And I'm not going to cover every single feature here, but you can bring in every single one of these. But like I said, if you only need one or two of them, then they're kind of in the way. So you'll be able to customize that. And that concludes the overview of the edit and preferences. Next, we're going to move on to the end panel. Now going over the next options here, you're going to have some camera properties that are just pulled out of the main camera area. So I'll go ahead and drop in, and you can always press F8 and you can press this little button right here. If you see the camera, that means you're in object mode and you'll be able to select any active object you wish. Now if you press the camera, you can select the camera and it will snap it to its current view, not to the view. So this little button here will take you to the objects, and this one will take you to cameras. Now you can press the plus and drop in a camera. So I want to line this up just a little bit different because I've got a plan for it. Something like this, and I can just press P and it's going to line all this up for me, and I can then turn it off. Now I've got the view I want, and what I could do is I can come in here and just with whatever's selected, if I want some of the camera booleans, I can grab whatever active camera I have. If you have more will show up. So then you can start doing some different things, turning on or off different items. You can snap that camera to the view here. You could turn on some different booleans. Now for properties, you can grab the same camera and you can have a couple of quick options to change, like passepartout or the camera focal distance. So then if you come in and select categories, you grab that same camera. You can switch it between perspective, orthographic, panoramic. or you can switch it to the different things like millimeters and field of view. And if you do change this to orthographic, you will notice that you get some different options. And if you change this to panoramic, you're going to get some different options here as well. So if you start changing these things, you'll see them in the list. I'll go ahead and switch this back to perspective, and we're good to go. So we do have the passepartout, and you can turn that off, or the passpart out, however you want to say it. There'll be a couple of different options in this area for things like aperture blades, limits, start and end. The f-stop will be here as well. And all of the options that you will find in the F8 menu are actually going to be the ones you find over here. There are some other things condensed, like the display shutter settings, motion blur, and a few other things. Now notice that this says you have cycle settings right here. Now, what if you don't have cycles up as your render engine? Well, let's go back over here and let's change this to Eevee. And currently the compatibility, it will change all of these to the exact Eevee settings. So you'll be able to change the depth scale, the max, the steps, the center on frame, a few different things, and the shutter speed for Eevee. Currently, I'm only supporting the Eevee and the Cycles render engine right now with this, and I can add some other things. Definitely jump into the Discord, and if you have suggestions, I'm always good, because this is a companion menu and you'll be able to do a lot from it. So now we'll move on down, and since I do have everything currently turned on, you'll notice that we do have the frame rates here. These are the exact frame rates, so as you update and change the frame rates, they will change here as well. So whatever you select there will be there. And then for the render, you'll have the render button here. Just grab that, and how you want these images to come out. And then you'll have a show hide section there as well, and that will cover all of that. So let's isolate a few things because we can customize it. Don't forget you can do that. So as I cover something, I'm going to turn it off, and then we can move forward. And so we've already covered all of that. And now we have a couple of different things here. And we have the render samples, which is very specific here for Cycles or Eevee. So if you change this here, it'll say Cycles. Notice that. We switch this to Eevee, it's going to say Eevee, and you'll change those cycles. So there's some powerful functionality in here, kind of keep things rolling. Now, one thing you do want to note is you'll have a camera rig, and this is very specific setup. Now I actually skipped the camera rig. I've got that a little higher up in the list. So let's go ahead and use that. I'm just going to hide everything here, and note that the 3D cursor is the location where the camera is going to come in. So if I press that button, now you're going to see camera rig objects already in scene. That just means these are named objects: camera target and snapshot camera. This is going to have a limit distance preset and a constraint track to preset. So there's going to be features that pop up that are indicative of just that camera. And so wherever this target goes, that will go. And then with the track to and the limit distance, you'll be able to switch this. You can change the distance here, and it will change down here in the add-on. So in the constraints, you don't actually have to be in this menu. You'll have everything you need right here. And you'll see if you select inside and grab the target, this will move along with it. You can remove the limit if you don't want that functionality. And if you do outside, it'll be more constrained. And if you do on surface, it's going to just track along with it. And so it's pretty cool. And then the influence will change some things. The distance will change some things. And you can kind of play around with this and figure out a good use case for it. Now I'll go ahead and get rid of that. And if you did want to add another camera rig with this setup, you can't. You have to delete this first. And this is my second favorite feature of the add-on right here. So if you were to go into edit mode on your mesh, grab a face, 2, 3, grab all of them, doesn't matter. Kind of makes sense to have, you know, as many cameras as you want, because what this is going to do is it's going to grab the normal of your face and it's going to place a camera pointed at it with a constraint. Go back into object mode and then click add cameras to faces. Now, in order to make this just a little bit easier, I put a button here that will select just the cameras, and now you've got all these cameras pointing at your mesh. So if you were to select one camera, you can see it's just kind of pointing here at the edge. Don't necessarily want it there, so you can just move it off a little bit wherever you want and move those out. Now, what you can do is you can come up here to scrub through the cameras. This is going to be on integer 0. It's going to place a camera marker and bind the camera to the marker every frame that you have set here. So if you have 25 set and you go scrubbing through, you can just add cameras and it's going to add all of those cameras for you. Just depends on where they end up in the index. You can just keep clicking, it will eventually grab them and then place them from the beginning on and so forth. Now, what you can do is you can grab the F8 menu, grab whatever camera you want to be the active or the first camera. Let's hit shift left arrow and let's go ahead and hit play, and this is going to shift through all those different cameras. So if I want to keep this at 25 frames, I can do that. And now I can actually go ahead and hit this little delete button, the trash can. It's going to erase all the camera markers, all the bind markers, and it's going to zero out the index, but it's not going to delete the cameras unless you want them deleted. So now I want to put them every 50 frames, hit enter, and you can actually grab 0 and hit enter. And sometimes if one of these is on the index of 0, you'll be able to do that, and then you can just add these and you'll see now it's adding them 50 frames apart. So now if you were to scrub back through, and we can put this on something like 120 for the frame count and just hit play, take up one of these views, and you would notice that we're going to be switching through all of these different cameras. And so this takes a lot of steps out for you, a lot of things you don't have to do. And so that's that. Now I'm going to select all these cameras and delete them out because I don't want them. I'm just going to press F8, go into the camera button here, add a camera. I'm not going to select it here. I'm going to grab an area like, where do I want to be? I want to be right here, and I'm going to press P. Now it's going to align that camera for me so I don't have to move it. I'm going to lock it in, hit P, turn it off, and now I'm in the camera view. I'm going to go over to cycles, and we're going to cover the next item. The next item is going to be the Gobo Creator 2. So all you have to do here is click to add the light shader, and you can turn this basically anywhere you want. I'm just going to do a little Alt-R, and I think we are better off over the top of this cube so you can see it. And what we want to do is press F9. This is a completely different menu. You'll have the option to load a custom Gobo. So if you have Gobos in your downloads, or you have an image, it doesn't matter, any PNG that you want, you can load in. So just pressing F9 will bring this up. You'll have the option to kind of adjust how this looks with the exposure, and you have a drop down list. You have windows, abstract, trees, and branches. We will just go to abstract, hit the recycle button, and it's going to bring up a list of abstract items. I can go ahead and click whatever I want, and it's going to start projecting that for me. Now I'll hit Alt X and bring this up just a little bit, and we'll be able to see what's going on better. And you'll notice we are in Eevee Engine, and this does not work in Eevee Engine. So you have to move over to cycles. And sometimes it will be dependent on how your lighting is, how your exposure is. You may have to turn it up or down just a little bit. Some of these will show up a little better than others, and you can add some details. Now in the F9 menu, you'll also have the option to add a volume cube. So if we go ahead and click this, You'll add a volume cube in. This is going to come in at the origin, but no big deal. We can just drop this in right here, and this is going to give you some nice ray lighting inside. And this is where your exposure will come in real handy. You could change the color of the fog to whatever you wish. And there's going to be a black body intensity as well you can mess with when the light is selected. So let's just grab the light. And once you've got the light selected, this will pop up, and you can put in something from 7,000 to 10,000, and that'll give you a really nice bright look. If you were to come down to something like 1,500, it gives you more of like a match flame, and then anything in between that is like fluorescent lights, incandescent lights, and things like that. But I like to stay at 7,000 plus when I'm doing some certain type of lighting that I want the scene to look kind of epic and look good. And now you can of course change the light and how the light looks as well. That's going to kind of conflict a touch with the actual volumetric lighting, so you want to be careful with that. Then you can blur out the gobo ever so slightly if you want, and you notice that that just blurred that out a little bit for us. So that looks pretty good. And so you've got a lot of controls here in the F9 menu. You'll be able to do these certain things, and let's just grab, for fun of it, some kind of image. Let's find something in here. I know I've got something good. CVS PNG. So this is an add-on I made, and this will actually project. I want to bring this all the way to 0 so it actually shows up. And a couple of things to note: you can actually clean up what is projected, making it square or making it round. And now this image is kind of inverted. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's good. So CSV importer. So this is the CSV importer, and these are just like little files that I made. It's just a little icon. So you can automatically load any image you want. You're not restricted to just the galleries, but just for the fun of it, we'll go over trees, hit reload, and you can grab and project full color, all kinds of cool things. So it's really it's this powerful add-on. I packed in a lot of stuff that may not have as much to do with the camera as you think, but I believe you'll actually be pretty happy once you get into it. And you can change the density here of the volume. It's a principled volume on a cube. It's very basic, but it works very, very well. And so you'll be able to do all of that. All right, the next one is the focus camera. This is one of my favorites. So I'm just going to move the screen around a little bit. Let's hit P, make sure I'm in the camera view. So that looks good. And if I click focus camera, it's automatically going to grab the very first object that is closest to the camera. So we'll scrub through this. And if we bring the f-stop all the way back to 0.10, which is its lowest setting, this will give us a good idea what's going on. Everyone needs a visual representation. So I'll just scrub through to the next one. See, it selected the next target furthest out. And if I do it again, it's going to now grab the next one, and then so on. And it'll grab that one. And you can use this in large scenes. It's going to just cycle through whatever object is closest. It's pretty cool. And if I happen to have another camera in the scene, and I'll just throw this camera in right here, and let's actually make that active. So you can always do that by just clicking here and make it active. And let's drag this scene over here, something like that. And are we locked? We're locked. That's what's holding me up. So no big deal. There we go. So now if I've got this camera selected under the F8, I can switch between cameras here. That's pretty cool, but I can do it here as well. So if I want to do the focus camera from this one, then I'll be able to scrub through these different objects over here. If I want to switch to the next camera, then I can do that as well and change the focal length. So that's going to be pretty useful. And sometimes the f-stop, well, it's definitely not always going to update. I think that's just a Blender thing, but if you kind of move this forward and back just a little bit, click focus camera, and then you can begin to scrub through here and it will blur everything else out for you. So these are just a little bit blurry. And select the next camera and you can do the same thing and just go back, or you just click focus camera to return back to the very first object you had. So if anybody's interested, you can jump over into the Discord channel. This link will just be a static good link. This will bring you in here. Select accept the invite, and when you do that, it will jump you in, and you can go into add-ons and Patreon. This is going to give you a lot of different things. There's a share your work where some certain things are going on in there. Let's see, events, general chat, different things. But most of the people that are in here are going to be in this area. So you guys can jump over. Feel free to come on in to the Discord. It's a nice little family. You can join the Patreon too. It's absolutely free to join. You'll get free add-ons. If you do sign up for a monthly, like for $1 or $5 a month, you get more add-ons and better add-ons for the different tiers that you sign up for. Appreciate everybody watching. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments, drop it in the chat on Discord. I'm happy to answer things. If you find any bugs, definitely jump in there and let me know. I don't have a problem with trying to get in there and fix whatever is going wrong. And one little quick note, I do have, this one is somewhat experimental, adding cameras to faces. If you have constraints and things like that on it, it may not work. And adding the cameras to the faces, if the origin point is at the bottom, something like that, then you're going to have the cameras pointing towards the origin point. So this one's a little more experimental, but if you just added a few cameras in manually, line them up, you can scrub through. It's still going to save you a ton of steps. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.